Personal style is dead, in my opinion, and I blame the internet. I think the fast cycle of trends on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube have contributed to the stripping away of people's own individuality when it comes to fashion and personal style, and now it's just the norm to conform to whatever is popular on the internet. So today I wanted to highlight some people within the dwarfism community who I personally think have incredible fashion style. As someone with dwarfism, I'm always in this weird predicament with clothing. I feel like I haven't even found my personal style yet because I'm just in survival mode with finding clothes. I have basically an adult frame. I can't fit into normal adult clothes without getting them tailored and hemmed that can cost like up to $45 to $100 extra from the actual piece of clothing. And then when it comes to youth clothing, I also don't fit because my hips are way bigger than a child's. The chest area always is bursting out of youth shirts, so I'm in this weird, predicament where I've just always am trying to find stuff to do the bare minimum. But I've been really inspired by some little people lately who are completely revolutionizing not just the fashion space, but what it means to have individual personal styles. So first I wanted to talk about Katie because she's truly one of the most incredible designers out there right now. She's a fashion student in New York City right now, and her work has just blown up over the internet. I first met Katie over TikTok, and I just absolutely admire her talent and her vision for every single one of her pieces. I just love how they all tell an individual story, and you can tell that she put so much of her personality into her work. She'll take random objects and turn them into clothing. She'll take things that didn't fit and turn it into something that fits her perfectly. She creates stories with the things that she makes, and I just personally think that's so cool. I think the fashion industry as a whole today reminds me of like the Capitol from the Hunger Games. I think it's just like gone a little bit too far, and I think it's become less about the actual clothes itself and about creating unique pieces of art through clothing, and more just about like abundance of wealth and excess of whatever. And I feel like it's just gotten very egotistical and uninspired, and I don't really feel like I see anything that makes me go, wow, when I look at modern day fashion, especially luxury fashion. But every single piece that I see of Katie's absolutely blows my mind. She's just truly one of the coolest people out there. She's constantly inspiring not just me, but other people as well to really find what makes them feel seen in their clothing. And I think that is important because, again, clothing is an amazing way of expressing yourself to the world, and without words, telling people what you believe in, what you like, what you don't like even sometimes. And I think that's a really powerful thing. My absolute favorite piece by her is this crop top of a sleeping man in bed. I just like her mind is crazy. It's just so cool, and I think it'd be so cool to see a line of crop tops that was like kind of in the same vein, where it had a story that jumped off, I was gonna say jumped off the page, but this isn't an art piece, but it is an art piece, just like it feels like it's like almost 3D, like it's like leaping off of the outfit, and I just love that so much. Rants is truly one of the most stylish people that I know. I've had the pleasure of working with him. He's an actor, he's recently transitioned into real estate, and he just has such a clean, aesthetically pleasing, very fitted look about him that I really love. He's able to cover so many different styles too, from more formal to more hipster to more classy to more like summer leisure wear. And I know this wasn't an overnight thing for Rance. I know that he's really had to work to find clothing stores and brands that fit his aesthetic and also fit him comfortably. And I know he uses a tailor as well, and I think that he's just all around such a great inspiration and person to look for when it comes to a really like normal person, everyday personal aesthetic that's also really elevated and unique and feels very Rance. It doesn't feel like he's trying to be some other person that he's on the internet. He might be inspired by other people, their fashion sense, but I feel like his clothing style specifically really fits him and what looks good on Rants. And I think that is also something really important to remember when expressing yourself through clothing and fashion. And I think things like fashion trends on the internet should only inspire you. And if you like something, you shouldn't feel like you have to do exactly that, but to use that as an inspiration for how you craft your own individual look. Fats Timbo is one of the first TikTok TikTokers that I followed. She is so funny, but not only is she hysterical, but she's an author, and I'll put her book down below for you to buy it, and she's a model. She absolutely, when I tell you she eats every single look up, flawless. Every time I see her at a premiere, she is dressed to the nines. She is killing every single look. Her clothing, I feel, really represents the joy that she brings to every single piece of content that she puts out there. You can really see her self-expression coming out in her clothing. She's always taking risks. She's never doing the same thing twice. She's always trying different looks as well. And I think that's something that's really inspiring as well. Someone who, again, I feel like I'm still figuring out my own personal style. I feel like it's really nice to see that that can evolve in just so many different things, and that your own style, quote unquote, doesn't just have to be like the same look or the same aesthetic. It can be different types of things. Personal style can encompass so many different looks, and it really just comes down to confidence in the end of the day. And I think that she exhibits so much self-confidence that she could wear a plastic bag and I think it would still slay. Chenade is an accessibility and inclusion consultant and has done so much amazing work for the dwarfism community. Although I'm not a huge fan of like the luxury clothing brands like Gucci and all of that stuff, I think Chenade has done an incredible job at least making those big corporations realize that accessibility and inclusion is important by partnering with them and wearing custom pieces that they've created for her, which have gone on to be shown in museums actually as well, which I think in the long run does have a huge impact. It is important that these big clothing brands that are recognizable and that are well respected are also showing different body types in their clothing, instead of shutting out people who don't conform to the traditional, societally acceptable body image and standards that we've set for no reason. One of my favorite things that she's done is work with the British Vogue to create a collection of covers that featured disabled models, and they came from all different backgrounds and all different types of disabilities as well, and just truly it was so beautiful to see. And if anybody has a copy of one of those covers from that British Vogue shoot that she did, please send it to me. Reagan Vasquez is someone that I actually don't personally know, and a friend sent me her Instagram the other day and she was like, you would love her clothing style, and I absolutely agree. Her shoe collection alone, instant favorite. She just, I feel like, exudes confidence. I love the colors that she uses. I love the fashion eras that she references. I personally love fashion that makes a statement, and I love when people wear clothing that feels bold and feels loud almost, and I feel like she does a perfect job at exuding this. She looks like she's having so much fun too, which I think is the utmost important part about personal style and conversations on personal style in general. Does this feel fun for you? Does this feel like something that you feel comfortable and enjoy wearing, stepping out? Does this boost your own personality and your own self-confidence? Last but not least, we have Nesma, who actually created Egypt's very first fashion clothing line for people with dwarfism. I'm really inspired by people who identify problems like lack of accessibility or lack of opportunities and create it themselves, regardless of how many obstacles and challenges stand in their way, and Nesma absolutely did. She saw that there was an issue with clothing that didn't make her feel comfortable and didn't represent the potential that she knew existed out there, so she self-financed that by herself. She said she wanted to create clothing for people who were ridiculed for not being able to find clothing that complemented them, and she was tired of shopping in the kids section, so one day she bought her own materials and started mapping out her very first collection, which released, and it was called Breeze. And she was only 20 years old at the time, which is crazy, and that was 4 years ago. And there's not very many clothing companies that cater to people with dwarfism, period, regardless of where you are in the world. I know there's Dewy Clothing, which I love and respect so much. That is a clothing company that focuses on clothing for short-statured people. So I really love people who take the initiative, identify problems like lack of accessibility and options for people with dwarfism in clothing, and decide to take a leap and to create the change that they wanted to see. I feel like people act like clothing companies being inclusive means that it takes away from other things, but it really just means providing more options for consumers. Like, don't companies want to make more money? They definitely have the resources to create more options and to cater to more people, but I think that we know now from people, from certain CEOs who work at these companies saying we don't want certain types of people wearing our clothing, that it's become evident that the lack of inclusion is intentional rather than like, oh, we don't know how to create clothing for different body types. And I hope that in the future that norm changes because, yeah. people need clothing. Do you guys struggle finding your personal style though? I'm really interested to see what you guys think about this topic, especially when it comes to, do you think that things like social media trends on TikTok and Instagram and clothing hauls and stuff like that has contributed to the lack of individuality when it comes to style? Especially for the everyday normal person who can't afford tons of clothing and who can't afford luxury brands to look good. Please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, and if you have any ideas for how people like me who are still learning how to find their own personal style, any tips that have helped you if you've overcome that challenge, because I'm open to hearing it. 2025, Aubrey's finding his personal style. But that's really all I have for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me as always. Please make sure you subscribe to support the channel. We are so close to 10,000 subscribers, which is crazy. I have been a lover of YouTube. I've loved YouTube since I was a teenager. I feel like I've been here since the earliest days, and it's so fun to now finally be able to have a channel, and to not only have a channel but to have a voice and a community. Like, I feel like this community is already growing, and I already see so many familiar faces in the comment section every day. So thank you guys for sticking with me. My name is Aubrey Smalls, and until next time, I love you. Keep going.